Today I'm going to show you some of the work that's had to go into this green because I've been such a poor steward of it lately because I've just been too busy doing other things. So let me show you why it looks like this right now compared to how it did the other day. This green has been a real son of a bitch this year. It came out of the winter dead. It was reseeded. Why did I reseed it the way I did? Check out this other video. I kind of talk a little bit about that, but I brought it back into place. Now, I'm thinking about burning it all down and starting over. See this over here? This was a lot of work. The reason this looks like this right now is I wanted to cut it down super short and get a collar going over here. I had to take it all the way down to the nubs because it had gotten so thick, so matted, and so laid over. You can see the stolons just everywhere. I'm gonna have to continue to cut that out so that the grass will eventually reset the height and it can be a nice looking collar. But for now, it's gonna look like this. And this is what happens if you let grass overgrow and then just butcher it. Now, if you look right here, at the beginning of the day, it was super dark green and thick and beautiful and whatever else. That's just not gonna work for me. If you put a ball in there and try to hit it, you can't get it out of there because it's just so thick. This section just here behind me filled up my rotary mower bag 2 times between here and down there. Here is everything that I did, and it took me about 5 or 6 hours to just work on this, just to get it in the stages to start being healthy, okay? Because like I said, I have not spent a lot of time out here. If you look, the grass looks great. The color's great, the density looks great, but we've got these other issues. See behind me over here. This was fungus. This infected that section over here, plus another section over on this side, and it kind of started to recover on its own, but it was treated with fungicide 2 times. And now I'm going ahead and putting some turf min down so that this can kind of come back in. Why, if I'm gonna kill the whole thing off? Well, because I haven't totally decided, and that's, but I feel like I'm going to. I'm doing my research on the kind of seed that I wanna put in here. However, this is all getting turf min right now, and this is kind of a unique one because this has green sand in it as well as peat moss. With the irrigation, putting those big heavy streams down, the sand really holds the seed in place. So this has been 48 hours and it really hasn't been disturbed. So it's holding it in place, it's doing what it's supposed to. That seed will germinate and it'll grow in and it'll look really good. Fertility has been sort of the big issue out here, and I have been doing a bit more here than I have done up on the main lawn, mainly because I needed to grow this back. So right now, I would say it's a little bit behind on where it needs to be as far as nutrition goes. I ran a lot of green pop through here, probably 1/3 and maybe almost even 1/2 pound of nitrogen, because I put nearly a whole gallon out on this space over the first month, which was kind of a lot. I then followed it up with green charge and green punch throughout here. So I'm probably pushing 1.2 pounds of in total for the green, not per 1,000 square feet, but probably total for the green. So maybe I'm at 1 pound right now, is about where I am per 1,000 square feet. Now, this green, just so you get an idea of the size of it, is about 60 feet long by about 25 feet wide. That's the total space here. So it's not a huge area, but this area just takes so much more time, energy, and effort in order to, not to mention money, in order for it to look good. I would say that aside from this year, I really spent a lot of time on this and I sort of neglected that up there. So it's kind of one or the other, right? Like, you've got to find the time to do this. You've got to be able to cut it every day, and you've got to just be on top of it if you don't want it to get away from you. So for nutrition right now, here's what I'm doing. I'm stepping things back through this green and I'm using my fertigation tank. So right now it's getting a load of K. That's only going down here. It's not going up on the upper lawn because there's just none really to speak of down here. It's also getting some seek as well. So I'm putting that through the fertigation right now. That's just gonna run through here and help everything else. Next thing I'm gonna do is come back through with green charge and go back over the top of it with just a tank for this. And then I'm also going to do another green pop over the top of it. So now I'm getting all my NPK values out there to get this sort of moving in the right direction. Now, I want to target on this green around 2 to 2.1 pounds of in. I don't really think I need a ton out here because while I do have a fair amount of light and growth potential down here, I have a pretty short season and it kind of cruises along on its own. I don't really want to push this too hard. One thing that I will have to do is put down a PGR as well. mainly because of travel constraints and things like that. This is going to get a new, which is the new farm plant growth regulator. And the reason I like that is because it doesn't cause any chlorosis whatsoever. So I don't have to put iron with it. I don't have to do anything like that. I can just put that material out and it'll help to slow down and get the grass growing more laterally as well. So that's going to start happening like soon. I'll dedicate a whole video just to that. Now, here's something that I have not done, and this is really, really important. It needs to be brought up. So I have not sanded this year. And if I'm going to sort of manage the organic matter without really doing any aerations, I can't rent an aerator that would be appropriate for this, that can punch holes that are 3/8 of an inch and only 1.5 or 2 inch spacing. I can't do that. That's not gonna happen. So we're gonna throw that whole thing out the window. It's a way to sort of manage thatch and, you know, sand top dress and do all that kind of thing. But we're not doing that here. We're having to do this in a more of a biological way, or chemical way, however you wanna look at it. So more frequent applications of dethatch, or even using molasses alongside it as well, just to help increase sugars and start to digest, is going to work fine for that. But I have to be on top of the sand top dressing, which I have not done this year. Ideally, I wouldn't want to put more than, like, say 5/8 of an inch down total for the season. So I might want to do 2 top dressings, one in the spring, maybe one in the fall, maybe one a little bit before that. But, you know, we're only talking about like 1/4 of an inch kind of at the most. And right now I'd like to put about 1/8 of an inch down. So rather than think about like this whole thing, like how many tons it's going to take because it could be wet or whatever, I need to do it in like cubic feet plus broken down into how many inches that I want. And really I'm thinking like 1/8 inch is going to be the number for now, because I'm keeping the grass pretty short and I might be able to do it a couple more times. But see, this is the problem with having a golf green. I'm thinking of recontouring this thing as well. I like the shape, but there's still a couple of places where the mower doesn't really do too well because the contour is too steep and I can't quite get the correct pitch on it in order for it to cut appropriately. So had it either been taller with a lot longer run that was that steep, it would be okay. But I just need to kind of flesh this out a little bit more. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna build another row of rock over here and bring up the whole sand level. And this is probably all going to happen this fall. But at the end of the day, it is fun and challenging to do this. It's also very difficult, it's very time consuming. And before you go in thinking you want to put in like a legit golf green, I mean, again, this one has almost 2 feet of sand in some places. It's got drainage, it's got everything put into it to make it as close to a true golf green as possible. But you have to decide if you've got the time, the energy, the money to put into something like this, because it is very much a challenge. So here's where we stand right now. This all has to recover. We've got our seed come back in. We've got our nutrition under control. We're cutting on a more regular basis, and it's starting to feel better. But it's got a little ways to go, and we're gonna seed right here in the middle of summer and see how well we can bring this back. So stay tuned. The continuing saga of the golf green.